Okay, the purpose of this video is for any student who didn't show mastery um, in Unit 4. And remember, Unit 4 has to do with multiplying by powers of 10 and multiplying with decimals. So let's review the three different Common Cores. The first Common Core said that the student knows how to multiply whole numbers by powers of tens with and without exponents. And all that means is you understand the pattern of what happens to a number when it gets multiplied by 10, by 100, by 1,000, by anything that is a power of tens, right? So basically, since you were a very young person, you knew that 3 times 10 was 30 because you understood the pattern of adding a zero. But now that you're in 5th grade, we look at it a step further. We say, you know, it seems like it's adding a zero, but it's more than adding a zero. What actually happens is because our place values are based on the number 10, every time you get 10 of something, right, everything pushes over, and then that gets 10, you push over, that gets 10, you push over, because that's our number system. Our number system is based on tens, on the idea of 9 plus 1 more. So let's look at some of these questions. The first one said, do you know what 3 times 10 to the 4th power is? First, let's see, well, what is 10 to the 4th power? Well, 10 to the 4th power looks like this, and it's a base with an exponent. And all that really means is the exponent says this is how many times this number is getting multiplied by itself. So let's just look at what this actually means. Oops. And then when you teach that the first time, a lot of people say, oh, 10 to the 4th power, that's 40. It is not 40, right? It's 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. But what's beautiful about 10 being your base is how easy the pattern is. So 10 to the 4th power is really 1, oops, with 4 zeros. In fact, when you have 10 to the 1st power, it's just 10. 10 to the 2nd power is 100. So you can see that whenever you have 10 to any power, really, it's just telling you how many zeros are in it because that is the pattern. So what happens when you multiply a number by 10 to the 4th power? Well, I told you when you're a young person, you knew 10 times 3 is 30, right? But that's only multiplying by 1 10. You're multiplying by 4 tenths. And the reason it's 30 is because 3 looks like this, 3.0. It's 3 and 0 tenths. When you multiply it by 10, it turns into 30.0. So every time you multiply something by 10, you're pushing the decimal over. You're pushing it over. So all we're going to do is multiply it by 10 4 times. We're going to take our 3, which has infinite zeros after it, because there's 0 tenths, 0 hundredths, 0 thousands, 0 ten thousands, and so on and so forth. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3 with 4 zeros. So 10 to the 4th power is 30,000. So once again, you go like this. You have your dot, and you say 1, 2, 3, 4. The dot now, the decimal now is over here. I add my 4 zeros. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, what if we're multiplying whole numbers like this? Well, 300 times 50, you can multiply this the normal way, or you're like, yo, Mr. Stahl, remember the zeros have beautiful tricks. Because they end in zeros, you can kind of ignore the zeros. 3 times 5 is 15, and then add however many zeros you ignored. So the answer there is 15,000. John makes $20 an hour. How much does he make after 15 hours? So you're doing 15 times 20. It ends in a 0. So you can do the add to my answer trick. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Add this back. That answer is 300. $300. Now you are going to prove to me that you know how to multiply multi-digit whole numbers. Can you multiply? Yeah, I think everyone in 5th grade really did a really good job at this. And I think mostly the lattice method, because if you didn't learn this in 5th grade or 4th grade, you're one of those people that I don't like math. But man, and then you learn it in 5th grade and I teach you this new thing called lattice method, which you hate at first. And then you actually realize when you open your heart to it, that it's something that could be pretty easy. You just fill each inside box and then the answer falls down. $4,565. And last method's the best for multi-digit. Times multi-digit, but it also works when multiplying it by a single digit. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 4 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5. And 5 times 6 is 30. 5 falls down, 1 falls down, 7 falls down, 0 falls down, 3 falls down, 30,715. And a square foot or a square floor is 15 by 15. What's the area? Well, we know area is found by multiplying the two outsides. And it's 15 by 15. 5 times 1 is. 5 times 5 is. 5 times 1 is. 1 times 1 is. 5 falls down. Ooh, 12, double digit. I got to put the 1 somewhere there. 12, 2. And then our last common core for the unit is solving problems using multiplication of decimals. This is where you guys got introduced to my friend named Decimal Dan. So this is the exact same thing you already learned about scientific notation, except for now there's a decimal. But as long as you didn't learn it as 3 times 10 to the 3rd power means add 3 zeros, you learned it as push the decimal over. So when you actually have a decimal, it doesn't make any difference. We're supposed to push it over 3 whole spots. That's only 1. So that's 2, that's 3. That means I have to make something there, right? So the answer ends up being 3,100. And then 3.8, 5.2. You don't have to even include your decimals in this problem because the first step is to ignore the decimal. And then when you're done and you find your answer, place your answer in the right spot in your problem. Or put the decimal in the correct spot in your problem. So 8 times 5 is 40. 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6. And 8 times 2 is 16. Ignore, 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 ignore. 6 falls down. 7 falls down. 9 falls down. 1 falls down. So 1976, but we have 1 decimal here and 1 decimal number here. So there's 1 decimal number and 1 decimal number. So total, there's 2 decimal numbers, 1, 2. So in my answer, I have to have 2 decimal numbers. So 1, 2, 19.76. And then Todd has 4 kittens. They each weigh 3.5 ounces. How much will they weigh together? So I'm going to take my 3.5 and multiply it by 4. And I'll use traditional method on this one for my traditional fans. So the first thing is get rid of the decimal. Somewhere put how many decimal numbers there are. so I can make sure that that decimal goes back in my answer. So 5 times 4 is 20. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14. Decimal number needs to have 1 decimal, right? So the answer is 14. And that's that. I hope that kind of helps solidify your knowledge and skill level and understanding of Unit 4. And pat yourself in the back for watching this, because you are doing everything that you need to make sure that you mastered 5th grade math. So, well done.